Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at noon. I am Uyai Imam, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu urges Defense College to drive national development. House of Representatives asks WAEC to hold computer-based test policy till 2030. In other news, the United States calls for international action to cut weapon supplies to Sudan paramilitaries. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We head to the nation's leader, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has urged participants of the National Defense College to promote inclusive governance and drive Nigeria's national development. The president made the call while receiving course 33 participants of the college at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Tinubu said his administration remains committed to building a productive nation by harnessing its human material and intellectual potential. He stressed the need for resilience and patriotism in building a prosperous and secure nation. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has congratulated the Super Eagles on their emphatic 4-1 victory over Gabon in yesterday's FIFA World Cup qualifying Africa playoff match. Tinubu, according to a statement by his spokesperson Bayo Nanuga, described the performance as a clear expression of the Nigerian character that rises, adapts and prevails. He noted that the team played with courage, balance and precision, and reminded the country that football has always been one of Nigeria's most potent symbols of unity and shared pride. The president stated that the victory adds fresh momentum to the national spirit and strengthens the collective resolve to secure a place at the World Cup. We head now to the Red Chambers, where the Senate has commenced an investigation into the generation and utilization of stamp duty revenue across the country in what lawmakers describe as a major step towards improving fiscal transparency and plugging revenue leakages. Speaking at a media conference, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, Senator Aliyu Wadada, said it aims to uncover how funds accrued from stamp duties have been collected, managed and disbursed over the years. Senator Wadada said the investigation aligns with the Senate's broader commitment to promoting accountability and ensuring that all public funds are used for the welfare of Nigerians. As part of the investigation, the committee has written to key stakeholders, including commercial banks, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, and the Nigerian Governors Forum, demanding comprehensive data on total stamp duty collections, adding that particular attention will be given to transactions linked to governmental and corporate agreements. The Senate Committee has therefore set November the 25th as the deadline for the submission of all requested documents and financial records. Meanwhile, the Senate has passed a bill to establish the Chartered Institute of Revenue and Fiscal Management, a proposed legislation which is a major step towards addressing Nigeria's chronic dependence on debt to finance its annual budget and the country's weak revenue mobilization framework. Presenting the lead debate, Senator Adamu Alero noted that Nigeria's fiscal challenges, marked by persistent revenue shortfalls, leakages and inefficiencies, have been compounded by inadequate capacity in revenue forecasting and fiscal governance. Following its second reading, Deputy Senate President Jibrin Baru, APC Kano North, referred the bill to the Committees on Finance, Establishment and Public Service with a directive to report back in 4 weeks. Now to the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives have asked the Federal Ministry of Education and the West African Examination Council, WAEC, to immediately suspend the implementation of the computer-based test (CBT) policy for the 2026 Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination (SSCE). The House also asked the Federal Ministry of Education to work with various states to include it in their 2026, 2027, 2028 and 2029 budgets. The recruitment of computer teachers, construction of computer halls with internet facilities, and supply of standby generators for all secondary schools across the country. The Green Chamber called for the provisions of essential facilities in private schools before the commencement of the policy in 2030. The House stated these while adopting a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Kelechi Uwogu, PDP Rivers, on the need for intervention to avert the pending massive failure of candidates intending to run the 2026 West African Examination Council work using computer-based examinations (CBT), capable of causing depression and deaths of students. In another development, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has addressed his recent confrontation with a naval officer over a contested plot of land reportedly linked to a former Chief of Naval Staff. In a briefing with journalists ahead of FCT Executive Council meeting, Wike criticized what he described as retired naval chief's audacity in deploying active duty officers to guard the disputed property. Defending his presence at the site amid public scrutiny, the minister emphasized that he could not remain passive while government officials were under attack, stressing that his duty as a public officer is to intervene in such situations. He further emphasized that the dispute is not a conflict between the military and the government, noting that if it were, he would have formally written to the military seeking clarification, stressing that all parties must adhere to due process and honor officially approved land allocations. In matters of education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU Nsukka Zone, has accused the federal government of undermining Nigeria's education sector by failing to conclude the renegotiation of the 2009 ASU federal government agreement, warning that the continued delay could trigger another crisis in the university system. Speaking at a press conference at Benue State University, Makurdi, the zonal coordinator, Comrade Christian Okpata, said the government's slow pace and insincerity in honoring its commitments are jeopardizing the future of the nation and eroding academics' trust in official negotiations. ASU also criticized the recent contradictory statement by the education minister regarding the existence of an agreement with the union, describing them as evidence of inconsistency and lack of good faith. The union called on the federal government to use the remaining days of the one-month window to act decisively and avoid actions that could widen the trust deficit and trigger another nationwide university shutdown. Now, to the continent of Africa, South Africa's Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has rejected United States President Donald Trump's false claims of a genocide being carried out against white Afrikaners. Godongwana made this known while delivering the medium-term budget update days after Trump said his nation would boycott the upcoming G20 summit in Johannesburg. In a post on social media, Trump cited widely rejecting claims that members of the minority group are being persecuted and having their land taken from them because of their race. Godongwana, however, accused Washington of spreading fear and misinformation while praising Afrikaner groups who publicly rejected Trump's remarks as unpatriotic propaganda. Over now to Kenya, where Law Professor Phoebe Okowa has been elected as a judge to the International Court of Justice, ICJ, emerging victorious from a competitive field of African candidates after a series of voting rounds in both the General Assembly and Security Council. The election saw Okowa compete against candidates from Nigeria, Sierra Leone and Ghana in what became a protracted contest. After several rounds of votes, the General Assembly President Annalena Baerbock officially declared Phoebe Okowa of Kenya as the winner. Okowa succeeds Judge Abdulkawi A. Yusuf, who resigned effective September 30, 2025. On the international scene, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international action to cut off the supply of weapons to Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces, the RSF, who are accused of mass killings in El Fasher. At the end of a G7 foreign ministers meeting in Canada, Rubio said the RSF had committed systematic atrocities, including murder, rape and sexual violence against civilians. Meanwhile, Sudan's army accused the United Arab Emirates of propping up the RSF with weapons and mercenaries sent via African nations. The UAE and the RSF have repeatedly denied these allegations. Still on the foreign scene, UK billionaire and businessman Joe Louis, whose family trust owns Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, has received a pardon from US President Donald Trump. Louis, aged 88, pleaded guilty to insider trading as part of an agreement with prosecutors in 2024 that saw him avoid prison. Reports say he was accused of passing on information about his companies to his private pilots, friends, personal assistants and romantic partners, in a fraud that authorities said netted millions of dollars in profit. Meanwhile, a White House official said Trump approved the pardon for Louis, who requested it so he could receive medical treatment and visit his grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the United States. Nigeria trashed Gabon 4-1 to boost World Cup hopes. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news stories. On our business news, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASEN, has expressed concern over the dwindling value of pensions received by retirees in the oil and gas industry, describing the situation as worrisome and unsustainable. Speaking at a stakeholders' engagement on the state of closed pension fund administrators, CPFAS, in the sector, PENGASEN President Comrade Festus Osifo said the union was disturbed that many pensioners who retired under the defined benefit schemes decades ago now earn stagnant and inadequate benefits despite rising inflation and currency devaluation, adding that while a few CPFAS reviewed pension payments periodically, the majority left retirees' welfare at the discretion of management. The PENGASEN president urged the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, NNPC and others to review actuarial assumptions and ensure fair adjustments in pension payments. Still in business, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has projected that the country's manufacturing output will grow by 3.1% in 2026, driven by new tax incentives, harmonization of levies expected under the new tax regime taking effect in January 2026, and increased government patronage. According to the Manufacturers CEO's Confidence Index released by the association, the projected 3.1% output growth compared to the 1.6% growth recorded in the second quarter of 2025 will raise the manufacturing sector's contribution to real gross domestic product to 10.2% next year. The director of the Research and Economic Policy Division, MAN, Dr. Oluwasegun Osodigbe, said the anticipated improvement would depend on the effective execution of incentives in the new tax laws, the implementation of the National Single Window Project, and the alignment of the Nigeria Industrial Policy with the Nigeria First Policy framework. On our health news, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill seeking to amend the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control Act to empower the agency to regulate the production, sale, and use of herbal medicines in Nigeria. Leading the debate on the general principles of the bill during yesterday's plenary, Jesse Onukalusi, who represents Oshodi Isolo Federal Constituency of Lagos State, described herbal medicine as a crucial component of Nigeria's healthcare system, relied upon daily by millions of citizens. He, however, expressed concern that most herbal products currently in circulation are produced under unhygienic conditions with no dosage control, clinical testing, or safety certification, exposing users to serious health risks, including poisoning, infections, and organ damage. According to Onukalusi, the amendments will strengthen public health safeguards, promote scientific validation of indigenous medicine, and position Nigeria to benefit from the expanding global herbal medicine market. Still in health, the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaq Salako, has said Nigeria contributes about 14% of global maternal deaths and 9% of global under-5 deaths. Salako disclosed this in his inaugural address during the second day of the 2025 Joint Annual Review meeting in Abuja with the theme, All Hands, One Mission, bringing Nigeria's health sector to light. He said that although Nigeria has recorded improvements in key health indicators, the progress is still insufficient for a nation of its size and resources. The minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to improving health financing, expanding insurance coverage, and addressing workforce shortages. And now to the world of sports. Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen scored twice as the Super Eagles sealed an emphatic 4-1 victory over the Panthers of Gabon in an extra time to advance to the next stages of playoff of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers at the Stade Mohamed V in Rabat, Morocco. The win moves Nigeria closer to securing a spot at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, with the final playoff round set to determine their qualification status. Nigeria will face the Democratic Republic of Congo in the 2026 World Cup playoff final on Sunday, November 16. The winner of the game will represent Africa at the Intercontinental Playoff in March 2026. Still in sports, Los Angeles Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani has been named one of baseball's most valuable players for the third year in a row and the fourth time overall. The 31-year-old played a key role in the Dodgers winning the World Series for a second straight year as they overcame the Toronto Blue Jays earlier this month. Ohtani is second on the all-time list after Barry Bonds, who won 7 between 1990 and 2004. He has won all 4 of his MVPs in unanimous fashion with all 30 first-place votes. To conclude the news on this hour, in the world of entertainment, veteran Nollywood actor Oyewale Olojomore, professionally known as Baba Meju, has reportedly died. Baba Gebu reportedly passed away on Wednesday after a brief illness. Announcing his passing, popular movie director and actor Kunle Afod, in a social media post, described the disease as a great legend. And that's all we have on this news bulletin. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai MM. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy weekend.